Welcome back, everyone, to the Road Team CFL podcast, sponsored by absolutely nobody, episode number 6, The Chicken Box. I'm here, and I'm going to talk about Week 17 briefly, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Week 18. And spoiler alert, this episode is titled The Chicken Box, but it's really about the Hamilton Tiger Cats who are going to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Let's just get into it, because this is my second take recording this, because I just recorded a 24-minute podcast, and there was no audio, because I didn't plug in my mic. How genius am I? And we call ourselves the best CFL podcast around here, and to be honest, I'm talking to myself, and there's some pretty good CFL podcasts that are not me. But, we can't even plug in our own mic. That's just how we are right now. We're a 41-121 win team ball club, but you gotta persevere, you gotta push through. So let's just get into the week 17 recap. Not gonna spend a ton of time on this because I don't have like a billion spelled out notes like some previous episodes, and this is like least necessary part of the episode. We just want to recap what happened last week. Game number 1, Edmonton, Winnipeg, absolute slaughter fest. Winnipeg, 55-27 victory at home in the rematch game. They beat Edmonton 27-14 the week before. Winnipeg convincingly won that game, but they did so in this one in a completely different way. I said in last week's episode, Zach Collaros can't throw a ball downfield like at all. And for the most part this year, that's been true. Consistently, he can throw it downfield. Consistently rack up yards and have an actual passing attack. I'm wrong. I don't know anything. I'm inept at making proper predictions about the CFL. 6 touchdowns, 423 yards. Ridiculous. Completely shredded the Edmonton secondary. Just complete, utter, just destruction of the Edmonton secondary. This is exactly what I feared. I didn't think it was possible, so I guess I never was going to be fearing it. But Winnipeg is a team that has a really good defense and a really good run game. The passing game hasn't been the best this year. Zach Collaros has not played like that MOP candidate that he has in years past. He's turned the ball over a little bit too much, and Winnipeg's really missed out on the big play ball. And they hit it again and again and again and again this game. Kenny Lawler looked absolutely phenomenal. Nick Dembski had a big game. You had Wheatfall with some good moments in this one. This was all Winnipeg. Defense played pretty respectable. Edmonton, Justin Rankin ran for over 100 yards. Justin Rankin and Kevin Brown, both over 500 yards rushing for the year, along with Javon Week. First team since 1966 or something like that, if I remember from the broadcast. Impressive. They just got kicked hard. That's the recap of that game. All Winnipeg. Complete team. I apologize. Zach Collaros. I didn't think you could do it. You did it. On the bright side, though, all things work together for my good. For real. Because my friend Agent Pewds decided I'm not going to pick Zach Collaros because I'm going to listen to this podcast for some reason and take the advice of it. And he didn't pick Zach Collaros, who happened to go off for 41 fantasy points. 82 if you captained him. It worked out. Game number 2, Hamilton, BC. The best team in the CFL taking on the BC Lions in Vancouver at the BC place. And all hope looked lost at the beginning in this one. It was 16-0, all BC. But this Hamilton Tiger Cats team is not like the Hamilton Tiger Cats team in the first half of the year. No siree, Bob. This is a different team. This is a team. A team that plays for each other. Not saying that the team at the beginning of the year didn't play for each other, but there's a confidence, there's a swagger, there's a overallness about this team that's different than the first half team. The defense playing a lot better, keeping you in the ball game. The special teams actually looking like special teams, playing very well. And Bo Levi Mitchell, the swagger in him to go out there and play cool, calm, and collective. Be composed under pressure, being down 16 at the half, acting like there's nothing wrong, going right down the field, first drive of the half, scoring a big touchdown, hitting a big 2-point conversion on the Hammer Time special. This Ticats team is different. Absolute resilient. 18 points in the fourth quarter to go take a late lead. Defense keeps BC out of the end zone. Game goes to overtime. And the Hamilton Ticats get the job done. Because this is pass interference. Thank you very much. Back-to-back weeks where there's been an incorrect call on pass interference. And Scott Milanovic and the Ticats replay team, I don't know if there is a replay team or not, but Scott Milanovic, I don't think there is. Scott Milanovic making two key challenges to go ahead and reverse the call on the field. Pass interference sets up an Ante Lidre touchdown. This one, 32-29, Hamilton Tiger Cats on top, keeping the playoff hopes alive. I love this team so much. Ottawa, Saskatchewan. 29-16 Saskatchewan riding the momentum from their win against Calgary. Playing very well. We saw a big game, a pretty decently big game in the second half from Thomas Bertrand Hudon, the national player. Out of, I don't know what school. I should have probably actually, looked that up. 9 carries, 72 yards, including a 26-yard touchdown. Big time game. After it was Raquel Armstead being Mr. 200 yards the week before, the Canadian gets the job done. Saskatchewan plays a pretty complete game. Defense played pretty well. Jeremiah Mazzoli and Ottawa couldn't really take care of the football. Saskatchewan capitalized, played a good second half, won this game 29-16. Keyshawn Johnson, another great week from him, over 100 yards. Duncan Bosby had a pretty solid game, 7 balls for 90 or so yards. Good win for the Rough Riders to build that momentum, and they are setting themselves up to be a playoff team. Unfortunately, I don't like that they won this game. I would have preferred if they lost this game for crossover purposes for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But Riders jump the BC Lions, move back into second in the West. Key win for them, 29-16. And then the final game, the Montreal Alouettes can't get a job done for some reason. Playing Toronto at home, and I know Toronto isn't the worst team in the world, but this game Montreal's got to win. It just doesn't seem like Montreal's sitting at the top. They're 11-3-1. I don't think they're that good, if I'm being honest. They're 11-3-1. They're a respectable team. They're solid. They have a solid receiving core despite being down technically their top 2 guys. Defense is solid. I'd just say they're a solid team. I think they're above average, and that's all I'll say. I mean, Cody Fajardo can be a very, very good quarterback. But it just doesn't seem like they're playing like they were at the beginning of the year. It just seems like they're kind of just floating around and coasting. This isn't the Alouettes team that heated up last year and had something to play for. This is the team that just kind of laid back, a little bit. They're nonchalant about it. They're okay with dropping one of the Argos because we're going to be number 1 seed in the East, and who cares? We don't need to win for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We'll just lose, and that's what happened. Not saying Montreal did not fight in this game. They did. Basically, Toronto got off a pretty good start. Montreal would take a late lead right before the half. Toronto would tie 22-22 at the half. Toronto would just be the better team in the second half. They ran the ball very, very effectively. Kadeem Curry, Deontay McMahon, and Daniel Adeboboye, all solid contributors in the run game. So it's a good team to run the ball, especially Chad Kelly, how just impossible it is to bring him down, and he's also a threat to take off and run at any time as well. Not in a speedy way like Trey Ford, just in a truck driving down the highway. You kind of just want to get out of the way. Better metaphors to use than that, but I just used that. Toronto wins this game 37-31. James Letcher did have a 100-yard punt return. Cole Speaker had 3 big balls for 99 yards, touchdown. Other than that, Toronto takes care of business. They win. And that is your Week 17 recap. Now for the chicken box, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Again, I apologize. The Bombers play like that. And I don't mean like that in terms of if Zach Collaros throws for another 6 touchdowns and they score 55 points every week. I don't mean like that. I mean Zach Collaros can throw the ball consistently down the field. The Bombers are far and away the best team in the league and should be the favorites to win the Grey Cup. I don't see anyone out of the West being able to hang with them. I think Toronto, a Montreal team that has something to play for and has a little pep in their step, and I don't want to say Ottawa because I don't know what's going on in Ottawa right now. I think Toronto and Montreal and with the Tiger Cats can give this team problems. I think Saskatchewan could give them problems, but let's be honest, kind of the little brother right now in this relationship, and Winnipeg's annihilating everybody else. I thought Edmonton was the one team in the West that could beat them. Shut those rumors down right away. This Bomber team's really good. I talked about their defense all year. Defense is really, really solid. Even when they started out 0-4. Team's a good team. Just could not move the ball down the field consistently in the pass game. Brady Oliveira's been doing what he's been doing all year. Far and away, I think, also the best back in the league. And when you have him going, that's great. But most of the time, you can't survive. Well, they have. They've won 6 straight. They're number one in they're 9-6 now, or 7 straight. I don't know how many they've won straight. You can't, I think, win the big games just running the ball and playing good defense. I don't think that's sustainable, I'll say. It could give you wins, but I'd say how Saskatchewan was playing when they had Shea Patterson, their recipe for, how they won games, I don't think that was going to be sustainable. And it's proved that, Trevor Harris has definitely been way better than Shea Patterson, but just the style of how Saskatchewan was playing football was not going to be good enough to consistently win games, and it hasn't been until recently. Same thing with Ottawa. Ottawa, a lot of gaping holes, winning games that I don't think they should have won, just, winning games, and that's coming back as well. A lot of, I'd say, non-sustainable play. I'd say everyone's on a pretty equal ground, if that's making any sense. I'm just saying, every team that's gone on a pretty big win streak or whatever has been, I don't want to say getting lucky, but a lot of stuff has gone their way. And a lot of teams shooting themselves in the foot, leading to wins. I'd say Edmonton's really the only team. I'd say the Ticats right now are too. But Edmonton was really the only team that went on a significant, streak of wins where I would say, what they were doing would be sustainable at any point of the season. Winnipeg, you could make that argument that what they are doing is sustainable because they just keep winning. But I'll be real, in a meaningful game that you do not have a passing attack and you're one-dimensional and you give up a lead and you don't have a lead to start out the game, you're not winning that game. I don't care how good Winnipeg is and the other two phases, not really two phases, but other two components of the game. I don't care. But if Zach Kolarov could do what he did, just a little bit of it, because it was ridiculous. They were hitting every single shot they took down the field. Every one of them. Winnipeg will hit 1 to 2 of those a game, and when they don't hit it, it's really, really felt in the offense. They're not really a team that chunks their way down the field, throwing the ball in the air. It's a lot more run it, chuck it down the field, run. It's a lot. I'd say that's more their style. But if they could hit that and get those 20-yard chunk plays and stuff, it's a good team. And Kenny Lawler played like the number one receiver Kenny Lawler we saw a couple years ago. And the guy that Edmonton paid a lot and the guy that Winnipeg paid a lot to come back, that's the Kenny Lawler that we know and love. And Nick Dembski in the second half of the year has looked like the Nick Dembski that we know and love. Beginning of the year, he was fumbling. He was running kind of scared. He was tucking everything, making sure he wouldn't fumble. He was not really effective yards after catch, and he's usually a great yak guy. He wasn't streaking open and getting open downfield. That's completely changed. Dembski with a massive game. I like that Winnipeg receiving core. I don't think it's better than Edmonton's. I don't think it's better than Saskatchewan's. And I don't think it's better than Hamilton's or BC's. And that's like half the league. But Kenny Lawler plays like a number one. You have Ontario Wilson, who's been statistically the number one all year. Pretty solid guy. You got those two guys and Dembski getting the ball. You have Clercius and Wheatfall and Whitehead. It's a solid room. Solid room to work with. There's obviously you're missing a Dalton Schoen type player, but it's a good team. It's a good team. I could say that about a lot of teams. I think a lot of teams in the CFL, other than the Calgary Stampeders, which I'm gonna predict the win this week. Spoiler alert. But other than them, I think every team has some really, really just components about them that they could be a competitive team in this league and do something if they got hot at the right time and just made the playoffs. So there's a lot of teams that were hot at the beginning of the year and are kind of cooling off, and some of the teams that were cool at the beginning of the year are heating up, and it's an interesting spot. This isn't like previous years where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are far and away. I've used that phrase 3 times now in this episode. It's pretty funny because I've never used that ever. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers were like the best team in the league. There's been years like 2018, Calgary was the best team in the league by far. Montreal at the beginning of this year looked like the number 1 team and the team to beat. And I'd say Winnipeg is that team to beat, especially now. I was saying this episode, the chicken box. Brady Oliveira's finding the end zone. That's a scary thing. Brady Oliveira, obviously, Chris Streveler took all the rushing touchdowns from him before he tore his ACL. But Brady Oliveira in the end zone is a dangerous sight to see. You get him going there. It's the best back in the league. He already is the best back in the league, but that's huge for Winnipeg's team. So the Bombers, very good team, and they are the team to beat, which is going to take us into. I'm just kind of talking. That's usually how this podcast goes because I am just talking to myself, I appreciate anyone who listens to this. Week 18 preview, and we'll wrap this up. So Week 18, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Hammer. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be straight honest. I'm picking with my heart here, but the Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to eat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers alive. They're going to steal the Popeyes chicken. There's not going to be Popeyes chicken in the locker room after the game because the Bombers are going to be too sad to eat Popeyes chicken. They're going to have to settle for something else. They're going to have to settle for Raising Cane's with no cane sauce. No cane sauce. It's going to be a tough sight for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers today. And I'll tell you why. This team is the better team. It's not sustainable, though. I'm not buying that this team can consistently throw a ball down the field because they can't. I'm not buying that they can just get through on the backs of Brady Oliveira and a really good defense. I'm not buying it. You need to throw the ball to be successful in this league. And that game was a fluke. I may have apologized to Zach Collaros earlier in this episode. But every single time I have a hunch that this team isn't actually as good as they are, they always end up proving to be frauds. I said the same thing about Saskatchewan, and Saskatchewan's playing a little bit of a better brand of football right now. I said the same thing about Saskatchewan at the beginning of the year. There's no reason they should be the number 1 team in the West. They're not the number 1 team in the West. They're frauds. Winnipeg would destroy them right now. And then they played Winnipeg, and they beat Winnipeg earlier in the year. And I was just like, dang, I can't make a pick for my life. And that might be true sometimes. But there's no chance. I'm not accepting that they won the first time they played the Ticats. That game was baloney. The Ticats should have won the game. They just couldn't close the door shut. They stopped Zach Collaros in that passing game the whole time. They let Brady Oliveira run all over them. I get that. That's just me kind of heating up. I didn't heat up like this in the first time. I was very calm the whole time I recorded the first time episode, and I gave the Winnipeg Blue Bombers their flowers. Right now, though, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are coming. It's Ticat Town. You're not escaping it. Bo Levi Mitchell, 4-0 in the Bo overalls. It's going to improve to 5-0. Just got to get out to an early lead. Early lead. James Butler's got to be involved. No Shamar Bridges, which is going to hurt. Tim White, Keandre Smith, Steven Dunbar, step up. Step up and play their game. Can't turn the ball over. Can't take a tremendous amount of sacks. Get ahead and keep the pedal on the metal. This Bombers defense is good, but it's not like perfect. If you let them take control of the game, you're going to be on hold the whole time. And the Bombers will win this game. Don't let that happen. Get out to an early lead. And because I have belief in this team is special. I love how this team plays as a team. I love how all 3 phases of the ball play together. I love it. This team's different. It's the same second half Ticats team technically as the first time around. But something's going to stop the Bombers. And I think it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And this might be an immovable force versus an unstoppable object. I don't know if those are the right ways to put it, but me getting predictions wrong about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers not being as good as I think they are, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats being good. I've been right about the Tiger Cats, and I've been wrong about the Bombers. Someone's got to budge. And truthfully, I do think Winnipeg is the best team in the league. I'm not saying that they're not. They are. They are. They are the best team in the league. They're the team to beat. But the Tiger Cats, they got to have something to say this week. Give me the Hamilton Tiger Cats. BC Calgary. I'm taking Calgary. Once again, picking with my heart. Calgary, I've established in every episode, has not won a road game yet this year, and they forget how to play on the road. But that doesn't matter. BC's a little lost right now, and every single time a team is somewhat lost and they play a game that I think could easily go the other way, the team that's lost wins. Every time. That doesn't change that I'm going to pick Calgary. It doesn't change that I want Calgary to win for the rare chance that the Hamilton Tiger Cats can cross over. Doesn't change it. I really like what I've been seeing with Dedrick Mills, and the run game's looked a lot better since he's gotten back. Consistently ran for a decent amount of yards and has been involved. It's going to come down to can Jake Mayer take care of the football, and can Calgary defense get to Nathan Rourke in first turnovers themselves. And if they can do that, it's Calgary's game. And I'm not going to comment how likely I think that's going to happen, but I'm still going to pick the Calgary Stampeders. Give me 123 rushing yards from Dedrick Mills and 2 tutties from him. Maybe he doesn't score 2 tutties. Maybe it's Tommy Stevens that scores them. But Calgary's winning that game. In our final game, the Saskatchewan Roughriders against the Edmonton Elks. Roughriders are hot, and I should pick them. And I'm not because, again, I'm picking with my heart. Edmonton's winning this game. The Ticats could cross over. And Saskatchewan and BC, if either one of them loses out, there's a door open. And I'm going to believe it. I'm hanging on to the very thin 0.0001% chance. I'm picking all with my heart in this one. This episode is literally named after the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but it's just another excuse to talk about the Hamilton Tiger Cats for the 3rd week in a row. I think the Elks rebound here. 2 rough games against Winnipeg. Saskatchewan does have a good defense as well. I like Saskatchewan's team, if I'm being so fully honest. I do. I think they're fixing some of their mistakes. They're playing a little bit of I'd say, better brand of football. Edmonton's going to win. Javon Leake's back. He's a monster. No Kevin Brown this week, but Justin Rankin and Javon Leake are going to run all over Saskatchewan. McLeod Bethel-Thompson is going to play this game no matter what, even if they get absolutely crushed, because Jarius Jackson just hates Trey Ford for no reason. I don't know why. McLeod Bethel-Thompson's a solid quarterback. I picked him for fantasy this week. Basically, mostly because he's cheap and he can throw for a ton of yards. Edmonton's going to win this game by a field goal. Thank you very much. So yeah, that is take 2 of this episode. I think honestly there were parts about episode 1 that were a lot better than episode 2. And there are parts about episode 2 that were better than episode 1 of episode 6. I'm being confusing. 6.2, version 2 had some strengths and some weaknesses. I think I rambled more for this one, even though time-wise it's less. But I'd like to thank anyone who stayed this long for watching. This is the Road Team Podcast, talking about all things CFL. We're sponsored by absolutely nobody, and I'm just letting this run to 24 minutes because I love the number 24 a lot. Comment down below who you think is going to win this week. I appreciate the comments last week, and appreciate Bar Nation / Agent Pewds taking my advice to go ahead and pick not pick Zach Collaros and save me from having to give up 82 fantasy points against him. So yeah, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. It's the Ticats time. See ya in the next episode.